So have you ever felt overwhelmed when trying to make a to-do list and you just don't know where to start in terms of you have so many things on your mind, but there's no clear image or idea of what you want to do? Well, today I'm going to be talking about probably one of the more well-known ways to create a to-do list called the Eisenhower matrix, which is a pretty straightforward method in terms of prioritizing tasks based on the idea of urgency and importance. Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Aquino and I help teach the next generation. And the Eisenhower matrix is a way to organize tasks, as I said, by urgency and importance. Now, obviously there's many different ways to organize your to-do list. Personally, I just create a big list and determine what is important and just go from there. I don't have an urgency because I don't have necessarily a time crunch like some of you may have. This one may be more pertinent for most of you because you guys, for the most part, I feel like will be on a time crunch. Whether you're on a 9 to 5, you're in school, deadlines and such, like you may have this, so maybe more beneficial to you than towards me. This honestly is very effective in terms of prioritizing your most important work if you're not sure what it is, because it helps divide all your tasks into 4 different quadrants, which we'll go into later. And my favorite thing about this is, as I was kind of testing it and putting it to use, is that it works extremely well when you pair it with time blocking, which is something I've talked extensively before, where you set specific time to do that specific task. So if you know exactly what the most important and most urgent is, whatever task that may be, because you time block it as well, for the most part, you would time block it in the morning. So it gets a lot of these more important, urgent stuff out of the way first. So as the day goes on, you can go through the easier tasks that are not as important or as urgent or as necessary later in the day when you've gone through a lot of the day, pretty difficult work out of the way. So when it comes to definitions of the urgent, important and such, urgent tasks they require your immediate attention, meaning you have to pay attention to them, whether because if it's a deadline, whether it's a school deadline, a work deadline, or a personal deadline, it requires your immediate attention. If it doesn't get done, there are consequences. So an example would be an essay with a deadline, like let's say a couple weeks. That is an urgent one because that has to get done at some point. If it's not done, the consequence is you fail that class or you get a 0 on that essay. Another example would be there's, let's say, something in work that you have to get done by tomorrow. So your deadline is tomorrow, which means that it's a very urgent task. However, when it comes to important tasks, they don't necessarily require immediate attention, but their main benefit is that they help with long-term overall goals. So for me, to give you an idea, for me, the urgent thing that I have to do is record videos. Like I have to do that if I want to continue growing and spreading my ideas and such and coaching. I have to record content. That is an urgent thing. An important task as well would be like creating shorts and kind of researching stuff, like important, but it's not urgent. I can do that when I need to, when I want to, when it's necessary. So it's a slight shift in difference. So an important task for a student would be studying. You don't have to do it. It's not urgent, but it is important as a long-term goal for studying. So let's give a full-term example. So an urgent task example would be finishing a project within a last-minute deadline, while an important task would just be planning the long-term project as kind of an idea. So the 4 quadrants of the matrix that I'll show in a bit is urgent and important, urgent, not important and urgent and not important and not urgent. So it's 4 quadrants and these are all pretty easy to understand once you kind of look at them. So let's go ahead and pull that up. Ta-da! As you can see, we have our graph. So we got important and urgent. So those are your due tasks. So those are things that you have to get done because they have deadlines and or they have consequences if they're not done. So the essays, the projects, the deadline work, that goes in the important and urgent. Now, after that, you've got not urgent and important. So those you would schedule. So these are tasks with unclear deadlines that contribute to long-term success. And then you have the urgent stuff, but it's not important for you to do in terms of long-term goals. That is stuff that you would consider delegating, which is tasks that have to get done, but don't require your specific skill set or don't require your specific time investment, if that makes sense. So for me, I would put it as chores or tasks that you have to do, at all times, recurring every day. So that, for example, chores, you could get a cleaning company to come in and clean your room or your house, etc. So that way you don't have to do it and you can spend more time doing other things that may be of more importance to you, or more higher importance to you. And then finally, that last quadrant, the not urgent and not important, is known as the distractions and unnecessary tasks, which is the stuff that you can delete or stuff that you can push to another time if you feel like you do need to do it, but that's just stuff that's just not as important. So with this is kind of the general idea, the pretty easy idea of what the Eisenhower matrix is. Now, in terms of how you would do it, what you would do is you would create like a master to-do list of all the things you do, and then you would put it into all of these quadrants and kind of see what stuff is the most important stuff. So if I were to do it, I would have maybe sourcing inventory, recording videos in the urgent, not urgent but important would probably be scripting videos, researching ideas. Urgent but not important would be like the chores, the laundry, etc., etc. And then the distractions would be all the stuff that I've probably mentioned before. So if you wanted to use this, which I honestly, if you feel like this would benefit you to try, I would honestly go right ahead and do it. Give yourself, make a big to-do list of like 50 things that you do, maybe on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, depending on how busy you get, and just kind of see where everything goes and kind of determine what stuff you do on a daily basis. Are you doing a lot of important stuff that just isn't, urgent? Are you doing a very important and very urgent stuff all the time? Or is your time filled with distractions that just aren't necessary? And maybe those are things you can remove and replace with other stuff. So some other helpful tips that you can go and do alongside the Eisenhower matrix is, as shown in the image, you can color code tasks. I know if you have like a Google Doc, you can change the colors on it of the text and, signify, okay, this is the do stuff, this is the delete, the delegate, and the schedule with the different colors. You can obviously choose your own colors, but the one here, green, orange, blue, and red, these kind of one is pretty easy to understand. Once you have the big master to-do list, I would say try and limit the tasks to 10 per quadrant. That way it's not overwhelming on how much stuff you have to do. Obviously, if you have more for the first time, then, try and just limit it to 10. And then move the rest to the schedule, because you want to push everything else that isn't as important to a different time. So that way you can focus on the stuff that does matter to you right now. And obviously, as I said, make to-do lists, whether it's personal or professional. Make sure you have to-do lists again so that you can actually utilize this. And before all else, you can, when doing this, the best thing that you can do is eliminate stuff first. So if you can delete and remove tasks that you feel you don't need to do for this week, or stuff that you don't need anymore in terms of let's say video games, for example, eliminate those tasks first and then move everything around in the matrix, because it's a lot easier to do 20 things that actually can be placed in the other 3 quadrants than 50 things that you have to figure out, do you still need them or not, where you can just remove 30 of the more useless ones or move 30 of the more stuff that you don't need to another time. So would I recommend the Eisenhower matrix? Honestly, yes. It's honestly a pretty good way to manage your time, pretty easy to understand. And once you get a rhythm down and you apply the time blocking, time management thing, it honestly becomes kind of like a pretty easy way to get stuff going, get stuff done, be more productive, and create your time management and get stuff done. Honestly, if you have multiple of these coming in together, it's pretty hard to fail, honestly, in terms of trying to manage your time. So if you feel like this kind of calls to you in terms of managing time, honestly would go ahead and do it. I've tried it a little bit. I honestly did enjoy it, but it's not how I flow right now because it's not how my work is. I just have 10 tasks, so I don't necessarily need to overfill it because I have all the others in ways that I know how to delegate and schedule for later. So I don't necessarily need it, but this is a pretty good beginner way of understanding time management. So if you want to learn more about time management, or if you need more help understanding the Eisenhower matrix, check out the coaching package down below so that you and I can get some help in terms of helping you getting up to that next level for time management.